Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
Girl Asleep. So we have Rosemary Myers, the director of Girl Asleep, a new Australian film. And what I'm going to get you to do first,
Yes.
Rosemary, is just describe the film. What is, in your words, Girl Asleep about?
Girl Asleep is the story of Greta Driscoll, and she is a 14-year-old girl set in the 1970s. She's a girl that really hangs on to her childhood. So when her parents, and she plays it pretty well under the radar. She has just arrived in a new school, and she has befriended Elliott, who's a very quirky young man, very upbeat, and they've kind of had this connection. Her parents decide that they are going to throw her a surprise 15th birthday party just to kind of introduce her to other people in the area and help to bring her out of her shell a little bit. Of course, that is the worst news possible for her. And so the kind of events unfold, and the birthday party happens. Things sort of go from bad to worse, and it kind of throws her into this surreal kind of dreamlike landscape. So yeah, it's a film that began its life as a theatre production.
Would you like to hear my description of your movie?
Oh, that would be good.
There's a number of shots I had at it. Napoleon Dynamite via David Lynch. What a remake of Mean Girls would look like if made by either Whit Stillman or Wes Anderson.
Fantastic.
Eyes Wide Shut, the awkward adolescent edition. Alice in Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And Puberty Blues Goes to Narnia.
There you go.
Something like that.
Well, you've done that a lot. You've done that a lot better than me, and that all sounds like a film I would go and watch. So that's very, very nice.
Well, it's a very, very stylized piece. Who is the audience for this highly stylized, beautifully crafted art house movie?
Yeah.
This is an art house film, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a very low budget independent film. As a group of makers, the kind of core team, myself and Matthew Whittet, who plays the father, and also Jonathan Oxlade, our designer. We're all theatre makers primarily. So we've made this trilogies of works about young people's coming of rights stories, and this is the third one in the trilogy that we've then adapted. So yeah, we thought it was kind of like an art house film for teens, but we know our work very well. We have a massive audience for our theatre show, and so the thing that we find exactly with our theatre show is that the work kind of finds its own audience, and you'd actually be surprised who. I mean, we make it. Number one, we always make something that we want to watch, something that excites us as we're making it, and that's kind of our number one agenda, and we think that's what you can kind of do as an artist is make what you think's great, and hopefully that's your best offer to the audience. So, but we are very interested in the teen experience, in that coming of age as a place to locate stories. We're interested in popular culture, even though this film is located in the 70s. But what we find is that it's actually a broader audience than we ever expect. I mean, last night was playing the film at the Nova, and a woman came up to me who was an older woman saying, "I'm a psychologist. I'm going to tell all my friends about this. This is a film about integrating your younger." She's like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, we'll take any audience we can get, obviously. Okay. But young people do like it. But I think and it's very. Also about the family. So there's a lot of, it's very, as well, it kind of be quite quirky. It's very entertaining, I think, and quite inventively told. So yeah, people of all ages.
It's a very enjoyable film.
Yeah.
It's occasionally very funny.
Yeah.
There are some beautiful bursts of energy in it.
Yeah.
Lovely use of music. Lovely, sweet observations about adolescence. That said, it is, it's a beautiful wisp of a film, I felt. So I just want you to know that I don't think that this is a film that most people, if they go deep diving into it for deep meaning, are going to come up with anything revelatory. Although, from what you just said, some people have actually found deeper meaning.
Yeah, some people do. I mean, I suppose it depends on your audience, doesn't it? I mean, I think some people take a great joy in it. Some people haven't been exposed to, lateral forms of storytelling, so they actually get a great joy out of putting the pieces together. And probably younger audiences definitely do that. They're kind of, understanding the form. And I think there's a lot in the film in that there's a lot to look at. There's a lot of a lot of little, sort of, and that's a beautiful work from our DOP and our
well, you set designer, costume designer,
designer Jonathan Oxlade and Andy Commas, our DOP. So both of those two working together, and
Also the sound designer. I just want to quickly note that the sound design of this film is remarkable. Yeah, it's fantastic,
especially when we get the cinemas to drive it a little bit. We like that. So that was so the composite. There's a whole lot of original music in it. There's obviously a lot of tracks from the 70s, and there's a good sound design component in it as well.
Right. Yeah. So just sort of having made that general comment, nevertheless, the use of style in this film, I think, is very telling, because often style and substance. Rosemary, I think you're aware, are often seen as being adversarial or at either ends of a artistic continuum. Yeah. Whereas rather, I think what you demonstrate is that actually, no, style enhances substance. Style focuses your eye on certain details.
Well, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, we're makers that deal in aesthetics, and because we come from the theatre, we're very collaborative in the way that we work, because in theatre you kind of, and some of the actors in the film like Amber McMahon and Eamon Farron, even our collaborators in the theatre, so we have a very collaborative dialogue across. We all have a very shared aesthetic sensibility, but we all kind of work in our own medium, and so that when we're writing story, even the visual is considered a very, very strong language. Of course, when we get the opportunity to make film, that's even more so. But it's interesting for us because as a group of theatre makers, who have grown up with cinema as the main artistic medium of our lifetime. So even when we're making theatre, our reference points are often filmmakers like Gondry, like Wes Anderson, filmmakers that we think are quite theatrical. David Lynch is very theatrical. Wes Anderson often has a play within his film. Spike Jones. Their film. We often refer to those things as and I think for me, Wes Anderson. I see Wes Anderson films. They're amazing films. I love them very, very deeply. And when I leave the cinema after watching them, sometimes it's just about what the film was in its own right, and the storytelling and the quirky relationships and the visuals. It's the combination that also someone has actually made this view of the world has been expressed that actually leaves me quite elated. So, because there's a lot of love and joy in it, and there's not to say there's not darkness in it at times, but I think that is a little bit what you're talking about,
What would have been the main discipline you had to engage in making the film as opposed to on stage?
Well, I think, talking about a team of collaborators, it was very, very important to bring on a director of photography and an editor that shared our sensibility, because we are such a tight team. If you brought on someone who didn't share our kind of view of the world or wasn't engaged with the things that we were doing, it could have been a disaster, because you're kind of going out there making something quite bold, and if everyone doesn't believe in it, that will show. So and it does walk a line. Like I think it walks a line that if it failed, it could have been disastrous. So everyone had to believe in that vision, and it has to be intrinsic to everybody. So when we found Andrew Commas and Karen DeCinque, they're amazingly accomplished filmmakers, but they are a little bit, they've got a maverick edge to them as well.
Now, I think most filmmakers would acknowledge that filmmaking is a collaborative art form. Yeah. But if you mention the word team one more time, a bella's going to ring and you're going to win $100. Right. You are obviously very, very big on this idea that it is a collaborative effort, that some filmmakers are auteurs. Mm-hmm. You're clearly not one of those, are you?
Yeah. Well, I think we do have a strong vision, but we like to, it is about a lot of minds being bigger than one, and that being kind of a more interesting palette. Obviously, everyone has a role to play. Like, that has to be pulled together by a director, and that, it has to be shot it has to be written down by a writer. So, and expressed by actors. But I think I think that's about our theatre background, and it is totally a great joy. I mean, and Andy was very generous to me, because I didn't know the medium, and everyone said, "Oh, how was it?" And I go, "It was actually an exhilarating collaboration." But he spent a lot of time with me in pre-production, because a play is made in the rehearsal room. during the 5 weeks rehearsal. A film is largely made in pre and post, and you actually do have to be very clear about what you're doing when you, especially on a low budget film like ours, when you hit that shoot, which is incredibly intense. You have to really be across what you're doing. So Andy and I spent a lot of time working on storyboarding, and that allowed me to kind of make that shift in my brain about how we were going to tell this story through pictures, and for me to throw a lot of my lateral thoughts that Andy kind of engaged, and so that was very generous. I think one of the other biggest distinctions about from the theatre to the play is the actors, because when we work in theatre we have often had adults playing teenagers, but in this film obviously that would have been weird on screen. It's about a level of performances too. Even though our film is stylised, it can't be as stylised as the play, because I think it would look grotesque actually. But uncovering these beautiful 15, and also it's impractical in theatre to have teenagers, because you have to rehearse for 5 weeks and they have to be available to perform every night, whereas with film it's a bit more flexible. So we were able to have lots more people, lots more teenagers in the cast, and but to obviously find Bethany Whitmore as our Greta, she was she's a beautiful actor, but she was the real deal, and to find Harrison Feldman the same.